My name is Grace Armutat, and earlier this year I went on the best vacation I have ever been on. I traveled to South Africa. I landed in Cape Town, which was appointed the best place in the world to visit by the New York Times in 2014. This is Cape Town on a map. We decided to go exploring and found a few interesting attractions such as the Cape Town Stadium. After we explored the town for a bit, we visited the Castle of Good Hope. It was built by the Dutch East India Company between 1666 and 1679, and it is the oldest existing colonial building in South Africa. Camps Bay is a town named after a beautiful bay about 20 minutes driving distance from Cape Town. The town was established in the year 8005, and the bay is one of the main attractions. Signal Hill is a small mountain for climbing that overlooks Camps Bay. Next, the group visited Devil's Peak, which is here on the map. It is 3,281 feet above sea level, and it has some beautiful views because it overlooks Cape Town. After a while, I decided to break off from the group to see an attraction on my own. I went to the Two Oceans Aquarium in Cape Town. I saw some beautiful animals such as the South African butterfly fish, the blue stingray, and the African penguin. The next day, we traveled to the Kalahari Desert. It may seem rugged and barren, but it can actually be quite beautiful. This is the desert on a map. The desert is 359,075 square miles in area, making it the sixth largest desert in the world. The average temperature is 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and the annual rainfall is less than 100 millimeters. We went on a drive through the Kogaladi Transfrontier Park, which makes up over half of the desert. The desert is so beautiful at sunset, so a sunset safari is one of the most popular attractions at the park. During the safari, we saw some different animals. We saw flamingos near oases, which are born with gray feathers and eventually become pink by eating shrimp and algae. We saw some springbok, which are deer-like animals. They only grow to be 3 feet tall, but they can run up to 55 miles per hour. After a day in the desert, we went to Kobe National Park in Botswana, which is here on the map. The park is 4,517 square miles in area. We decided to go on a safari, and we saw 6 different animals. First, we saw elephants by the water. The elephant population in the park can reach from 35,000 to 55,000 at a time, and the park is known for having some of the biggest elephants in the world. Next, we saw a herd of buffaloes grazing by the water. Despite their size and somewhat intimidating appearance, buffaloes are herbivores. It is also common to see large pods of hippos near the river like we did. Hippos live for about 40 to 50 years, and they can run on land up to about 19 miles per hour. Then we spotted a few lions off in the grasslands. Lions can live from 18 to 20 years old and grow up to 2.9 meters long. We also saw many different species of birds such as pelicans, hornbills, herons, and African skimmers. The last animal we spotted were a herd of zebras, which all have their own unique stripe pattern. The next day, we decided to visit Victoria Falls, on the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. It is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, bigger even than Niagara Falls. The river that feeds it is called Zambezi River. It is the longest river in Africa, being 2,700 kilometers long and flowing from Zambia all the way to the Indian Ocean. The first thing we did at the falls was to take a guided tour of it. We got to stand right where the spray hits you. The spray is where Victoria Falls gets the nickname, the smoke that thunders. These are some of the pictures we took. The other thing we did was go on a sunset cruise. It was so beautiful there. The sun had an orange and purple reflection on the water as it set, and everyone was quiet for a moment, letting the beauty sink in. The next day we traveled by boat up the Zambezi River that I mentioned before. We traveled through Malawi, Tanzania, Burundi, and Rwanda. We entered Uganda on course for Kibale National Forest Park. We saw many interesting animals on our way through the park. First, we saw a few leopards. Leopards can run up to 36 miles per hour, and their spot size and shape vary depending on which country they are from. Next, we spotted some warthogs in the grass. Warthogs can grow up to be 170 pounds, and they huddle in groups or swim in mud to cope with temperature change. Finally, we saw many different species of birds. Some of these included the African gray parrot, the crowned eagle, and the red-chested owlet. I wanted to see what urban life was like in Africa, so we made a visit to Nairobi, Kenya. We saw shocking examples of wealth and poverty in the city. Just look at the differences in housing. In 2006, 22% of people in Nairobi were poor, and I'm sure the number has increased, though this is the only year from which data is available. That's about 618,464 people in just that city who are poor. Compared to that, Nairobi accounts for 45% of Kenya's GDP, and that is all held by only 6,000 people despite the city housing over 3 million people. The next day, we continued east to Mogadishu despite tourists being warned against visiting. We briefly visited the Shanghai Old City. We also saw the Mogadishu Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, meant to represent the services of all the soldiers who have served in any war but whose bodies were not found or recognized. The final place we went was far west at Timbuktu, Mali. We visited the Jingobur Mosque, which has beautiful architecture. After all of this traveling, we finally flew the 8,081 miles back home. This is a map marked with all the places we traveled throughout our vacation. I hope you enjoyed.